Hello, America. This is all the most serious subjects. I'm not playing around. I can demonstrate to you. I was never raped at my grammar school, but there were people who made confessions, and that is relevant to a principal child of the same campus, principal child offenders campus, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by a whole bunch of people involved with another sex offender's family too, on and off intercities campuses and intra campuses, and with private campuses at the same time. The kids from the private schools, they're keeping everyone victim predators. So when I was a kid, they had and then they interbranch. This is how they kept them originally instilled: criminally foreign influence, manifest as styles of liars that can't defend that and pretend they're free speech. They're about free speech and the Constitution surface values simultaneously at the same time. They're involved with sequence shifts. Now, so I had a great everything that is when someone tries to speak about the past, truly, it locks into where everyone talked about everyone criminally through criminal foreign influences. Everyone. For example, in relationship to study of that which could only be manifest when they had those breaching method employed, crazy laws, as crazy database relationships, not just what anyone could say, in the context of slavery being force sustained, no. And then with a fake A-B sides of correlation. Styles manifest, incapable of defending their identities, and us from what exploited them and us. All investigations and investigators were kept, all positions of sophistication kept only capable of being self-valued. Lie progressions right back to all locations involved with this original breaching method. But now all through all kinds of other natures of interest. Needs and natures criminally legalized as criminal and citizens' natures. I am not a lawyer, I'm not a police force, I'm not a criminal. It is also recorded, demonstrable, how lawyers are involved with wire crime methods that are an extension of this database method that kept and keeps effectively recorded how identity thefts, frauds, and lie progressions to all locations. Now, so I don't like to use the names of people I don't know. So I just want, when you grow up, people make confessions that you don't know because they wanted to lock it in like they know you. Like, for example, a whole bunch of Wethersfield police recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with predicate acts and predicate act methods. While they pretend, oh, I don't know about that, I'm just talking about what's now, or they're pretending emotions. That's how they get their family members in it too. It's part of it. Because they're branches of government, their identities, each individual group. Two Mendez police, the older Mendez police, put me in fake quotations, fake recorded communications with him on the Wethersfield Police Department. Same one, him and his brother, Eric Mendez. I never had a conversation in my life, verbally. And other people, this is also with them speaking through others, with the second people on the child offender registry that are involved with predicate acts with them, also on off New Britain Superior Court. Dozens of people involved with sequence shifts, identity thefts, attaching little kids and their family members to fake locations, fake words, fake ties to other people, fake natures of ties to other people, fake ties to other people like this Joshua Julian. They had people interbranch with their kids when I was growing up in the background, exploiting, being used remotely. Kept criminally foreign influence through their roles with these other natures of predicate acts and preventing me free speech. So they also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated that they have all kinds of names forging and switching. They make confessions about that to me and others. Through time, they have this sustained, recorded how they have the sense and sensibilities of people's conversations where and how they couldn't fathom how they're connected. Because then it's what's relevant is where and how they're preventing free speech. They're recorded threatening, simultaneously recorded themselves, pretending others recorded video and words. Me on the Wethersfield Police Department with Eric Mendez. A kid gave me a affidavit when I was a kid. Chris Walters, his mother recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with them with wire crimes, database crimes, with private school people, influenced to it by people associated with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and his co-defendants, who had family members involved with the kids in my school, classes and the ones that weren't in my classes, in collusion with pretending me to fake locations. The only context I know them in. See, this is vertical and horizontal database to keep only appreciated criminally foreign influence, incapable of telling American history properly. Everyone's sense and sensibilities getting charged for titles. So then they're just, where no one's watching, they're just putting fake recorded things, fake, because they grew up criminally foreign influence. These are people involved with World Trade Center predicate acts, involved with them. Now these are people also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with Wethersfield Police, Interbranch, other police forms with them, FBI, CIA, and with federal criminals. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with private industries and like dozens of doctors, forging names, switching names, pretending they had conversations with me. As one's also involved with the grammar school when I was a kid, and with the Wethersfield Police. There's a Dave Gove. I don't know you, Dave Gove, from Wethersfield Police. There's an Adam. I believe his name was. He said it was Adam Gove. So sat at my table and said his father had a big dick, and then I said my father had a bigger dick. I don't know. It was like when adults don't know how to act when people approach them with criminal insidiousness. That is also recorded through time, originally instilled, juxtaposed overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and interbranch self-value, many ways. See, they also had the perfect world. Self-value exploited. Self-value is important because what self-value is identity, is why it is relevant to science. Identity is science, has simultaneous nature of relationship to positive and negative simultaneously. See, but we have abridged sciences and abridged justifications of that and methods of defending that in relationship to logic. Now we have logic experts recorded, confessed, and demonstrated all kinds of roles with various natures of courts and various natures of police forms and overt criminal enterprises and private ones with all kinds of manifest crime methods like forging names, switching names, and switching sequences, preventing anyone anything to respond to. Like there was a Leahy family. I never had a conversation with in my life. He pushed his body against me because I didn't want to have a conversation with him. And I had one word, yeah. I said and I never touched the thing. He wanted some. This guy's a disgusting pig, associated with other natures of organized crime, with more people tied to the sex offender's family, with sexual crimes, with them interbranch too. Like not just with New Britain Superior Court, but dozens of people from the Britain Superior Court. And this is Wethersfield interbranch, so intercities through time, intercampuses. So when I was in third, fourth, or fifth grade, one time, it's the only time I remember, they're pretending other into databases. But there was an Adam Gove, and he said about the dick. And so that plays with your sensibilities, because then that embarrassed myself, because then you're glad the person's, you never had a classroom. Even though you could be in the same grade, you have other teachers. You see what I'm saying? And we were in the same thing, but you don't see other people. You don't know them. They were carrying forth their roles with recorded, confessed, and demonstrated through time connected. Uses of investigations and of investigators. that demonstrate how their life progressions. Also, they are recorded as actually not legally, criminally exploiting, self-valued, legally criminalized. I mean, they have criminal readings of statutes. That's what precedents and statutes are recorded, criminally foreign influenced. To be able to defend ourselves from all that tied to that, we have to have free speech and to have mandated law followed. There is a big difference between being a leader of the processes of the law and of being a leader of the processes of the nature of the processes of the law. I'm not a lawyer. So we lawyers have physical delusions, like the branches of government individually grouped together, simultaneously juxtaposed with criminal influences and crime methods they need to hide, individually grouped and together. Invisible but still discernible, criminal insidiousness nature. What is that which keeps going? Well, what's not mine. We didn't force the breaching method. We didn't force the list. It was sickly distinctly in the North. Not even for the. When people say things that are real, like politics, it's not just that. And those reactions are meant to be. And by the way, for health care, I heard one of the healthcare voices say, "Don't clap for us. Do something." See, individually grouped together, they're reliant upon all kinds of roles of making up fake mental diagnosis of people per their roles with a crime method. That is, every modern nation self-valued rolls with it. Came from semi-ancient times. That came before modern nations' religions. So Jesus Christ is drawn with the A on the left side of his head and W on the right side of it. This is A through W. X is extinction. X, Y, Z. This is about how each identity of value / value progression / simultaneous nature. I mean, as a simultaneous nature. The invisible but still discernible, its identity relationship to itself, and the value of that increasing is what English was revealed to teach about. This is bigger than math. This is bigger than music. The word theory and treatments of theory are offensively to maintain fact-cheaping nature styles in collusion with an identity of negative value nature progression, self-valued as criminal insidious nature, as victims, but as victim predators. And then as with positive treatments and with negative treatments simultaneously, which is relevant. What is evidence is recorded. They have, so we have to count individually and grouped the judicial branch and the executive branch. They have area crimes, like pretending they're against things because they know about investigations. Like, for example, with the deposition of people associated with Robert Luskin, former director of the FBI, and his co-defendant capacities with co-defendants of his, who recorded, confessed, and demonstrated in another case with other related issues. I mean, unrelated issues that they're trying to pretend, but they have predicate acts against me. Uses of the courts and of the police recorded and military and foreign military recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, exploited on and off campuses through time. People associated with, West Hartford Mall policing, but from off the location. With Central Connecticut State University, but from off the location. And these are fact-cheaping nature predicate acts delivery system method roles. As victims, but as victim predators. So you have to have forgiveness, and so people who can discern how People pretend passions and emotions about their opinions about when other people speak. They pretend they can't understand people. If you use logic, which I said respond for the New Britain Superior Court and Wethersfield Police pretend recorded things on their locations. They did that because of their roles with the database organized crime method. Now, it's identity theft, fraud's clear as day. But you have to get them onto paper because they've been attaching me since I was in grammar school they have the sensibilities of all these Wethersfield Police faking recorded things. Kids through time have recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they were influenced on off Wethersfield Police Department, especially regarding on the police department, their roles with Washington D.C. World Trade Center type predicate acts, delivery system method roles. Fake recorded transcripts, sequence shifts, database crimes with campuses that are intercampuses and it's intra-campuses. And it's simultaneously the private databases, all natures of campuses too, all ages, natures, and statures of campuses. This is exploiting how we are a value progression / simultaneous nature. So this is how we are positive and negative in relationship to identity. They want to put coding first. They're using time too fast, too slow. They're putting people's opinions to prevent mandated law. They're forcing sustained child abuses. Now, these are people involved with the Principal Child Defender School then and now. Further, with two Mendes police again. Also with resource officers. Victim predators, though. Retired, standing dead. I read your head, your soul. So they're preventing mandated law through time. They're also these are ones, Connecticut Interbranch, involved leading up to the Trade Center in it. Insidious roles also with post-dated documents presented to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, or Ninth Circuit Court, next to the World Trade Center towers right before they were taken out. That was proven. That was in Manhattan, right before the World Trade Center. There was a Ninth Circuit Court right next to it. Someone had post-dated to appear as if it had been handed in late. Papers presented to the court that were stamped timely. Then the World Trade Center happened. Also, there were a whole bunch of people on and off the case involved with the other Connecticut courts and depositions involved with area crimes. And with them ongoing, sustained, no. Now, these are people pretending they're looking out for their kids because they already attached me. There are already roles with the narratives that attach me and others to fake locations, fake recorded things, boxings. Me to play. It's not. So we have fake justice, fake righteous justice, and we have fake care simultaneously. And it is recorded that and how. The only voice you have industries. You have millions of people who say, "Well, I'm the one who could speak for it." They're speaking for the integrity of people associated with the databases. People associated with the lawyers who have nothing to do with law. Has to do with their roles with identity, with this method, they can't defend themselves. Because there was a lawyer present. We have the courts being used to fabricate things, fake recorded things. Now they're preventing mandated law. This is also how they have overt criminal enterprises juxtaposed. Because this keeps through time. Just like they have presidents, people running, measuring that they're gonna, be prepared for such leadership. This was knew that they were going to do that before they did it. So I never had a class with either one of the O'Brien brothers. When I was like a real young kid, they sought me out to confess, demonstrate, and record their roles with evidence investigators and investigations that are juxtaposed with overt criminal enterprises and with private ones, which is very simply done. Boxing is fun, but they also make confessions related to Ray Colella, who came into my school when I was in 4th grade, into a house that was reportedly and demonstrably associated with, who was reportedly intimate relationship to a Wethersfield police chief years ago. And then there was a transition. I don't know how many different names they had, or which one was the one tied to her. But now my Newtown's police chief and his own officers, they make confessions about their he's got his own daughter involved with it. I never met her, never had a class with her. Her husband, his family, extended family member, and they're associated with a John Maiano, and with my neighbor. When they attached me, I never met John Maiano until after my neighbor, who was in my grade, graduated. I stayed back. The only reason I stayed back, recorded, confessed and demonstrated to speech teachers that were influenced to roles with predicate acts, not realizing, but that's which actually recorded, and on off the state of Connecticut judicial branch offices. These are also people involved with predicate acts, methods, roles, on off the state of Connecticut judicial branch offices. That's the prison offices near along Franklin Avenue in Hartford, but this is also on the other side of Wethersfield, tied to the same house with an extended family member called the Phil Colella, who I had never had a class with either. Now that's a cousin, and that the Phil Colella was recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with these two Mendez police, and with these, and further with the principal sex offender, with other family on the sex offenders registry. There was also a Dr. Zeman, and some other guys with names forging and switching of different nations, religious guys and stuff like that, also involved with interreligious spots. Uses of their sick natures when it comes down to people making opinions against strangers. When I'm asking to have so there are rape threats, for example, that were made through the Facebook page of New Britain Superior Court. As people recorded through time involved with that court, recorded dozens of people involved with that court, involved with predicate acts of dozens of natures that also involved when they're with the courts and police with crimes. No, those are crime roles with areas. Originally still criminally foreign influence, sick as day, clear as day. You see, since before cars, Webb House with Nova. That's what it was named. Now they have it with the Webb Stevens house. But see, they have worse than they have the original sequence shifts. Self-engineered, self-valued. They have not logic engineered. They have knowledge engineered styles of using it to get around correlation nature. So only the punks are allowed to speak. And that's involved with their roles with the violence with areas, and with the fake care, and with the identity theft frauds. And what is recorded, the women don't know how to sustain it. Involved with all kinds of police forums, with Central Connecticut State University, associated with the narratives in the background on my street, tied to these Wethersfield police forging names, switching names, attaching me and others to fake locations. In the context of my father's death, they have recorded, confessed, and demonstrated leading up to that too, other confessions and stuff like that, demonstrations, people involved with on and off the campuses crimes, connected, illusions, the connected, worse than identity theft, fraud, sequence shifts, with my new and past neighbors, with the Dillon family, also with recorded, confessed, demonstrated roles intermilitary, with their roles with database organized crime, acts, and roles with the methods actually recorded, where they force people to speak to other people. So I had to force my mother to call the police, and she wouldn't do it because I wouldn't tell her why. And I said, okay, then when they came, I was no problem. They brought me to the place. I was no problem. I had no conversation with those people, with this Leahy family. Now, this Brendan Leahy's got his father, Brendan Leahy. They have women in their family that work with Hartford Hospital. Same name, different name. Name switching, forging roles. Foreign and domestic families were recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with predicate acts with a whole bunch of people tied to the house on my street associated with this Phil Clow that Bob Chase. And that doctors confessed, recorded, confirmed, involved a whole bunch of people associated with forensics labs, involved with them with child people on the child sex offender registry. Also with them in collusion with making fake sex offender registry maps pretending to be me. Then they're threatening me to come down to the Wethersfield police so they can record more fake things. Some strange kid said they set it up pretending other sequence shift. Chris Walters gave an affidavit when I was a kid about this. Recorded, confessed, demonstrated, involved with Old Town Cafe all the way up to Central Connecticut State University, on off Central Connecticut State University, involved with predicate acts with men and women that share the name Bobby, with wire crime roles, roles with judges and prosecutors, with investigations and investigators, with people in my area involved with predicate acts with them. Sequence shifts, attaching me to fake locations, sequence relationships. It's whole people in my grade. I never had any class or anything to do with it because they have all these fakes. They've also simultaneously have been falsifying police reports with various natures of police and various towns police and forms of police, private too. Falsified police reports roles. But then they kept, we made a mistake. Now we have a different guy that was arresting officer. Wasn't even there. Like a guy named I don't even remember his name, with New Britain Superior Court, a Detective Samuda. He's also involved with intercities, human trafficking this way. Their roles with overt criminal enterprises of distinct natures and connected body spots though, and roles with those killers, recorded, used for predicate acts by the courts, knowingly or unknowingly, and those like the serial killer. That person's involved with predicate act narratives, pretending other in the background. But that's why it's relevant that I need to have the names of forging and switching. These are also in O'Brien family, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved with various natures of courts this way. Involved on and off the campuses with predicate acts and with in cases and with relevant depositions they were criminally involved with and uses of that. Now there's a Leahy family having whole fake conversations about my father's cases and stuff like that. Then 2 more times I was forced to go there. They made things up. They made things up also. They coordinated that with rape threats on Facebook. Now these are the people that were also involved with the predicate acts with the people on the sex offender registry, also further on the town of Wethersfield library and the campus next to it. Now they pretending they demonstrated that there's something to do with how they have other nations associated with their sensibilities, with their roles with libraries, with people involved with identity theft, predicate acts with Wethersfield Police Department. Pretended passions and emotions and relationships to their family members because they need to hide from what is actually recorded. For example, how they're preventing mandated law, me free speech, intercities and intercampuses with the same people I don't even know. All exceptions and exception nature recorded criminally foreign influence, having been exploited that way, knowingly or not. So please, Mr. Gove, there's a Debbie Gold and there's a O'Brien family with police, Rocky Hill police, forms, and with a whole bunch of people associated with former Director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, involved through administrations and since before the World Trade Center attack, with juxtaposed natures of organized crime leveraged against each and age and nature of fact treatment nature. And this is what it sounds like, American history. This is what motivated people to roles with slavery. See, we have passions and emotions prevented the five identities of sequence nature / simultaneous nature they have a relationship to. Now we have the identity thefts and frauds too. Self-value, for example, the time treatment of people who have to defend ourselves when they want to make overall allegations, theories with delusions since founding. Counting drugs, the interbranch. They want to pretend they have the right to lie where they don't. Now they need to follow mandated law too, because they recorded, confessed, and demonstrated have interbranch women involved with forging names and switching names, falsified police reports, intercities. Those are intercities predicate acts roles with the sick people against each age of fact treatment nature. And with these games exploited per the insights maintained, they knew they were going to have to do this. They have to, what is actually recorded is how they've been hiding lies and lie progressions by self-valuing how they have investigators and investigations, fact treatment nature uses of their identities originally still criminally foreign influence, coded that way. Hear many pray. Vaccines. I tell you things. So we have the value nature systems all employed, criminally foreign influenced, pretending other. Time treatment's always too fast, too slow, preventing anyone counters to sustained, connected identity theft acts into databases, uses of the natures of the law, sick against each age of fact treatment nature. So we're going to need to have them pick one name and sequence, get onto paper. New Britain Superior Court and other courts interstates recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with threats made through confessions to people associated with the World Trade Center context just leading up to the attack, as people associated with working there, used criminally by the investigators of it also, involved with a Faenza family, and investigators associated with on off the state of Connecticut judicial branch offices. Sequence shifts that judges have recorded with uses of O'Sullivan families, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by people I don't know when I was in 6th grade with the same campuses that O'Sullivan just called me the other day. So, of course, it's unacceptable. Their standards for health care. That's what I was saying. We have to get all the organized crime. That has nothing to do with health care. Converted to real health care. And you know that will show too the process of the nature of the processes that will reveal, you know, the air, where the airflow is going to go, and space means into agreements to it. That it's just going to get bigger until it comes. We have to spend our time with that, entertaining this trap. So, like just one rap, free speech. It's one thing to not be able to stand it for yourselves personally, but don't get in the way of mandated law. New Britain Superior Court, Wethersfield Police, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. These are crimes. This is a crime method between family members, where they have been projecting uses to the right to life further and cover that up, exploit that where they didn't have the right to that, leading up to and in the World Trade Center attack. That's also relevant to all the other nations that kept and keep this true. That's also relevant to how they had to have also with the investigators associated with them. needed to hide the same sequence, yes, finite active lies, progressive lies. Identity lies. Identity theft, frauds worse than war crimes. America. This is not complicated. They're keeping you guys sustained victims. So when you start understanding it, before you understand the connected series of revelations and how to access this, logic with no criminal foreign influences and physical delusions. See, but we have that self-value by logic experts. They've been pretending people have mental diagnosis, fabricating things to do it, forging names, switching names, faking whole conversations as their roles needed to hide progressions per the criminal uses of cases, interbranch in collusion with a whole bunch of other nations, overt criminal enterprises, originally and still it's clear as day. So we have theory, intersciences, individually grouped and together at once, self-valued. Their sick physical delusions, sequence shifts, self-value, time treatments, therefore, always too fast, too slow, getting over on forever nature. Identity, which identity is. So, please follow mandated law for Wethersfield Police. They recorded to have wire crime method roles with other police forms. Also involved with fabricating transcripts, uses of the sense and sensibilities and the perception of, and the delusions of, and the criminal foreign influences of the fact-cheating nature of Congress, of the executive branch, of the judicial branch, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. And this is with all inclusion with them. All victims like them, but victim predators like them. All fake, different, self-valued. Same identity of negative value, nature, progression, maintenance roles, pretending other, blaming on other things, others themselves. What it is for. It is, I told you, it's unacceptable. The space, that's the space they have. They're in a box. Boxings. So, that's how they entertain people stuck, left worse than forsaken. I don't speak for theater. And where and how that's exception, I'll speak for the 5 sequence natures of / simultaneous natures of theater, some distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. Because one identity of volume only increases. So, Joe Aiello is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by a whole bunch of people. He didn't go to my grammar school, but he's involved with a Gold family, a former Mayor Gold. And Enzo Fianzo also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with elections and organized crime, with people with the on and off the state judicial branch and on and off Two Ride Highway. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with predicate acts with this Phil Colello and with people associated with forensics locations. Also recorded and involved with body dumping spots criminally, and with their wire crime and mail crime illusions, fake forging names, switching names, illusions roles, with their own natures of physical delusions and evidence crimes. Now I need to see the police report because they don't show the police report criminally, with tied to this Bob Chase, and there are doctors, people with forensics locations, that are involved with them forcing not to be told on, found out off campus anyway, child offender principal. But they also put fake sequence shifts. They hid what was actually recorded. And these are people recorded also involved with mothers of some of the daughters and stuff like that, and even ones that are prosecutors and prosecutors and judges retired and standing involved criminally intercities with the campuses, intercampuses, intra-campuses. These are also people relevant. There's a Joshua Julian and is a Joshua Stryker. involved with the policing of Facebook, involved also with predicate acts on and off Trinity College and on and off Central Connecticut State University, a whole bunch of other nations again, and involved with them with database organized crime, relevant to where they are kept only capable of self-valuing lie progressions and means to cover them up on and off campuses. Now, these are foreign and domestic military police, also involved with the courts, like Hartford courts, New Britain courts, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed by people associated with them and by themselves, involved with predicate acts leading up, and predicate acts delivery system method roles leading up to intercities with West Hartford, New Britain, from Wethersfield up, and tied to this, and no, leading up to, so they had to hide that with their investigations of the World Trade Center attack. They're all used remotely, fake sides. They also have recorded, confessed, and demonstrated roles with a Scalura family, with predicate acts on, with people roles with people on and off the World Trade Center, involved with the predicate acts on my street. Also, that are mail crime, wire crimes, and involving the police forging names, switching names, making confessions of that as threats, not just to me, and with it is sustained. So these are courts recorded consciously, pretending that and how they know that through time, and the police distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously through time, they kept needing to hide lie progressions to each location from their roles with database and their database stewards. Because CCSU, when I was in that same grammar school in 6th grade, another time I appreciated that confession because I didn't know what I wouldn't know. They made a confession about a Lance Cuddy, but it made no sense. I never met Lance Cuddy. I was in 6th grade. He didn't even go to my school. He's involved with houses next to the state prison offices and associated with the forensics locations, involved with people with child sex offenders, and with a Sullivan family on Park Street. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with another Sullivan police that called me. That's also involved with town offices criminally, with the election spots, knowingly or unknowingly. But they know that they're with more than